Okay, I wish to call to order this work session of the Monroe County Board of Commissioners. It is December the 13th, 2023, and I want to note for the record that Commissioner Thomas and I are present in the Nat U Hill Room. And I believe that County Attorney Jeff Cockrell wants to say something.
Yes, after a grueling process, we have determined who is going to replace Lee Baker as our county attorney, and it's Justin Rowdy, and he's here, and he has been
recording in progress.
There you go.
And he has been to the top of the Sun Sphere in Knoxville, Tennessee. So,
All right. Justin.
That is true. I have been to the top of the Sun Sphere. It is everything that I dreamed it was. I'm grateful to have started my new position. I've been with the county for about 8.5 years in various roles, most recently as a public defender. But I just wanted to introduce myself today and say that I'm excited to work with everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.
Welcome
Glad to have
aboard.
you. And I understand that we had to wait for you to come on board because of a trial.
That is correct. We had a jury trial last week, and it was a favorable outcome for our clients, what I'll say.
Okay, good job. Welcome aboard. We look forward to working with you.
Well, this is going to be different than anything you've done before, for sure. But
I'm excited to jump in.
did you get the office with the window?
I did.
Oh,
So I get to see some daylight.
Well, I know then where to come find you. Thank you very much for being with us today.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, let's go on. We have items from Ms. Kelly from Health Department.
Yes, hello again, and thank you for taking all of these items. We just have a lot of business that's kind of piled up and trying to get some things taken care of. But wanted to present these items today for a discussion and to be able to have an opportunity if you have any questions or concerns that I need to find more information about. But the first item up for discussion is an immersive public health externship agreement. This would be with Indiana University, Indianapolis, the School of Medicine. So these are fourth-year medical students that would participate in this externship prior to entering their residency. So this could be anywhere from someone going into radiology to dermatology to just general medicine, so kind of all over the board. This allows them to be engaged and have a better understanding of public health and be able to form connections, for example, between vector control. So going out, seeing the process of doing the mosquito trappings and the transmission of disease and kind of what that process looks like to be able to give them just an additional viewpoint. This would be month-long rotations. So typically they are 8-hour days. When I did talk to Indiana University, I let them know that our employees are not all 8-hour shifts. So what we could do is break it up into half days. They could do shadowing and hands-on experience for about 4 hours out of the day. And then for the other half of the session, they could work on their project. So they are required to find an area of focus to do a dedicated project on during that month-long period.
So how many of these interns would you have at any given time, and would you have one every single month?
Well, while I would honestly love to do that, I think that it would be too much. So as I mentioned, our employees they are very busy. They work, extremely hard. I think that it would be, when I talked to the school, I talked about just gradually working this in. We could alternate every other month. We could do it kind of based around when we have our busier times versus our less busy times. But I do think that every single month, particularly starting out, would be too much, and it would just be one student.
And would they also be involved with the clinic work that is done through the health department?
Yes, ideally they'll be able to, and they could actually help to administer vaccines. They can help to do the medical screening, so they could be active participants in all of our vaccination clinics. And we're really looking at starting to do more wellness clinics in 2024. So they would be able to help provide those services as well.
It's a great idea, and I think the world didn't appreciate public health until COVID. And so I think it's a really important aspect of well-rounded medical education to spend a little time understanding the community health scene. So I appreciate that it's going to take time out of everyone's schedules and busy days, but I do think that there is also a lot to be gained for staff in this process too, and obviously you recognize that. So I appreciate that. I think this is a great idea.
I hope they'll go to the health board meetings too, if the opportunity arises, so that they see that it's a community kind of endeavor with that. So
Definitely.
yeah, I think this is a great idea. Yeah.
Do you want to bring it back next week? Or can we bring it back next week?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Mhm.
Excellent.
Yes.
Great.
Okay. That was the first item.
Yes. So the next item, another internship student experience. So I was recently contacted by MCCSC about taking a student for the second semester, which would be January through May of 2024. If we went ahead with this program, we could potentially continue it throughout the full year with another student in 2024 into 2025. It would really just depend on student interest and availability again with our employees. But this is just every other day for just 2 hours and 15 minutes, so less time capacity with working with our employees.
So is this through Bloomington High School North, or is it through the Hoosier Hills Career Center?
Bloomington High School North, from my understanding,
Okay.
but I would need to double check on that. That's who contacted me.
Okay. Their facilities are kind of co-linked is why I was asking. And I know
Okay.
that in the past that they've had a healthcare component at Hoosier Hills. So not that that would make a huge difference here, but I just think it's good to clarify exactly what that is.
Yeah, it's a great idea, and I'd love to see this brought to our next meeting.
Yeah, I mean, for people interested in going into education, we do cadet teaching, we do things like that. So, yeah, the more that, and we know that we've got a healthcare shortage, whether it's respiratory therapy and all kinds of different things that people don't even think about when they're in high school oftentimes. So, yeah.
Okay.
Bring it back next week, please.
Great,
Yes.
okay.
And then the third item you have.
Yes, and then so I was recently discussing with our Path for You partners. So this is through Indiana University, Indianapolis, again, School of Medicine. So we currently do have this program. We've just been having a little bit of struggle starting the program up and getting some of the billing and administration work put into place. So they are offering a one-time $10,000 payment to help us to be able to update some of our technology, which we really need, and to be able to help support additional hours for our part-time clinical assistant for the Futures Family Planning Clinic. So just to give you, again, a reminder of the Path for You program. So the Path for You program is focused on reducing infant and maternal mortality rates by helping individuals plan healthy pregnancies. One of our core service requirements is infant and maternal mortality rates, being able to have initiatives that we're working on for that. So this would really help us to fulfill that core service. The goal of the program is to provide high-quality, patient-centered access to contraceptives in Indiana, and the work is done by 3 best practices, universal pregnancy screening, comprehensive contraceptive counseling, and same-day access to contraceptives. In this agreement, they've also changed the billing process for us to help simplify it. So we could do a flat fee of $105. We could bill for that. Alternatively, they would cover the cost of contraceptives, or if a patient were getting an IUD, we could bill for the insertion, but they would cover the full cost of the IUD.
So in the executive summary that we see in the packet, it says that you'll be receiving up to $20,000 in funding, and you just said $10,000.
Yes, so that is what we're guaranteed right now, but there is the potential that it could go up to $20,000 with this agreement.
Okay. Thank you.
Makes sense.
Questions or comments?
No, I'd like to see it on the agenda next week.
I'm
Okay.
glad that you're able to pull in this extra money, and certainly with the maternal mortality rate that we have in Indiana being, what, 3 times the national average, this is needed.
Yes. Okay, great. All right.
Thank you very much. Thanks
Thank
for
you
joining
so
us.
much.
See you next week.
See you next week.
Okay. Is there anything else for our work session from our staff?
I think, given what we talked about earlier, I just want to let you know that we've had an initial conversation with both Duke Energy and the city of Bloomington about the Thompson site and about the feasibility, working through some issues that we think are on the site to determine whether they're issues or not. And they're pretty big issues, and if we can't work them out, then it'll be a struggle to put the facility on that site. And if we can work them out, there would be an area on the site where we could. So we're working through those issues, and so we're not there yet. We've got a meeting scheduled on site with the city of Bloomington coming up to kind of look at that kind of stuff and to see how they see these things from their planning perspective as to what processes, or whether it's even worth going through a process, just to kind of figure out what their feelings are on some of the issues that we think are on the site that we need to get resolved in order to make it viable for the project.
And part of that discussion was rerouting some of the power lines, which I understand are very, very high wattage power lines, and that it would add to the cost of building there.
Oh, moving the power lines will be expensive, but I think that was a very preliminary conversation.
Right.
But we were talking over $1 million to move the power lines, right? So it's not going to be cheap. But again, we're just trying to see if there is room to be able to put something on there, put what we want on there.
Right. And they still would need access to the substation that's there.
Well, there are a couple out there.
Right.
So,
Right.
but we had those conversations. We began those. I think Duke was, in my mind, saying it can be done, but it will be expensive. But the city planning department really wanted to get on site and look at what we're talking about in order to help give us some guidance on how to move forward.
Well, and I think from what I understood at the meeting also, that it could take them a year. Duke easily taken them a year to reroute these power lines.
Oh, 2 years. It would be, he said we could probably get it done in under 2 years. So.
Yeah, which adds to the delay of doing things there, for at least some of the things that we're looking at.
Maybe. I mean, we've got a fairly lengthy, I don't think it adds to the delay unless we don't make it once we tell them to move forward. I think if we could have told them that day to move forward, I don't think it adds any delay at all. But we got to get these other things resolved before I think we should even consider. Because once we tell them that, we are committing to paying $1 million+ to get these things moved, right? So we've got to make sure it's viable and then have a determination, is this the site? And I think 2 years from that date, and I think he was being conservative. But I would want to work with our DLZ to kind of figure out Do they have to be moved before we build and all those kind of things? But
There's, it just, I think for the public, though, the key point here is that we are still investigating the viability of the property. I think that's what the public needs to hear. And there's a lot of interest in neighbors for that property, about what comes onto that property, and we take those very seriously. But if it's not viable, then it's not viable. If it is viable, then we need to have other discussions. So for me, the viability is important, but it's one of many things that we need to address.
Well, we need to sort out the viability before any other decisions are made, so.
it is it's the next step, right?
Right.
We've got to determine that in order to have an intelligent conversation about it.
Right. We're not just sitting around. We are actively trying to figure out what goes on there. Yeah. Okay. Well, with that, I will adjourn this work session in the Monroe County Board of Commissioners, and we will be back next week on December the 20th. Thank you, everyone. Thanks, TSD. Thanks, Katz.